The email notification blinked on his cracked phone screen at exactly 6:12 in the morning, glowing like a promise he had chased for 10 long years. And in that single moment, before the day could break his heart, Daniel Carter believed his life was finally about to change. This was the day of his dream job interview. The job that could pull him and his 8-year-old daughter out of a cramped one-bedroom apartment. The job that meant no more choosing between school shoes and groceries. The job that would finally let him breathe without fear. Daniel stood at the bus stop with his worn briefcase in one hand and his daughter Lily's lunchbox in the other, his heart pounding with hope and terror mixed together. He had worked nights, cleaned offices, skipped meals, and swallowed his pride just to reach this morning. And he had no idea that in less than an hour, a single act of kindness would cost him everything he thought he needed, and give him something far greater in return. Before the story continues, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of doing the right thing even when it hurts, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Daniel was not the kind of man people noticed. He wore the same brown jacket every winter, patched at the elbow by his daughter's small hands, and his shoes were polished only because Lily liked to help him shine them on Sundays. Since his wife passed away 4 years earlier, life had been a constant balancing act between grief and responsibility. He had learned how to braid hair, pack lunches, and hold back tears when Lily asked why her mother couldn't come back. Every day he promised himself that his daughter would never feel abandoned, no matter how hard life became. The interview was scheduled for 8 a.m. sharp across the city, a junior project coordinator role at a construction firm that paid more in a month than Daniel sometimes earned in 3. He had ironed his only decent shirt the night before, memorized the company profile, and practiced answers quietly while Lily slept. Missing this interview was unthinkable. It was his one shot. The bus was late, the sky was heavy with clouds, the kind that pressed down on the city like a warning. When the bus finally arrived, already overcrowded, Daniel squeezed inside, keeping one arm protectively around Lily as they swayed through traffic. At the next major stop, chaos unfolded without warning. A woman collapsed near the curb just as the bus doors opened, her body folding like paper, her handbag spilling across the pavement. People hesitated. Some looked away. Others murmured but did nothing. Daniel felt that familiar tightening in his chest, the instinct that had guided him since becoming a father. He looked at his watch. Every second mattered. He looked at Lily, who was watching the woman with wide, frightened eyes, and in that moment, the decision was already made, even before his mind could argue. He stepped off the bus. The woman was pale, shaking, clearly in distress. Daniel knelt beside her, ignoring the impatient honks and annoyed stares. He gathered her scattered belongings, helped her sit up, and tried to steady her breathing. Lily stood close, holding his briefcase like it was something sacred. Minutes passed. Then more. The woman was alone, disoriented, her phone dead, her hands trembling as if her body had reached its limit. Daniel flagged down a taxi, knowing he couldn't afford it, but also knowing he couldn't leave her there. He helped her inside, gave the driver directions to the nearest clinic, and held Lily's hand tightly as the city rushed by. Inside his chest, panic grew with every red light. He kept telling himself it would be quick. Just help her, then go. Life, however, had other plans. At the clinic, the waiting room was full. Forms needed filling. Nurses moved slowly. The woman's condition worsened before it stabilized. Hours slipped away like sand through his fingers. Daniel checked his phone again and again, the interview time passing, then disappearing entirely. Each glance felt like a small grief. He imagined the empty chair in the interview room, the recruiter glancing at the clock, crossing his name off the list. By the time the woman was finally resting, it was nearly noon. 5 hours gone. 5 hours that had cost him his future, or so it seemed. The woman tried to thank him, tears in her eyes, but Daniel waved it away gently. He didn't want gratitude. He just wanted to get Lily home, to figure out how to explain to his daughter why hope sometimes slips through your hands. They walked back to the bus stop in silence. Lily held his hand tighter than usual. Daniel's shoulders felt heavier than ever, the weight of responsibility pressing down without mercy. He had done the right thing, he knew that, but knowing didn't make the fear disappear. Bills were still due, rent was still late, and opportunities like that interview did not come twice. That evening, Daniel sat at the small kitchen table, staring at the rejection email he assumed would come but hadn't yet. Lily did her homework quietly, sensing his sadness without fully understanding it. He wondered if kindness was a luxury people like him could afford, or if it was the only thing that truly defined who they were. At exactly 6:47 p.m., there was a knock at the door. Daniel wasn't expecting anyone. He opened it cautiously, finding a well-dressed older man standing in the hallway, his presence commanding yet calm. Behind him stood the woman from the morning, now looking healthier, steadier, her eyes filled with emotion. For a second, Daniel thought exhaustion had finally caught up with him, and he was imagining things. The man introduced himself not with arrogance, but with gratitude. He was the woman's father, a man who had spent the entire day racing through hospitals, making calls, searching desperately for the stranger who had helped his daughter when no one else would. He had resources, influence, and power, but none of that mattered in that moment. What mattered was that a single dad with nothing to spare had given his time without hesitation. The man spoke at length about character, about how success built without integrity was hollow. He explained that he owned the very construction firm Daniel had interviewed for that morning, the firm where Daniel's empty chair had raised eyebrows, but also questions. When the story of why he missed the interview surfaced through hospital records and frantic searches, it changed everything. The job was still his if he wanted it. Not out of pity, but out of respect. A better role with flexible hours, health insurance, and stability Daniel had never known. The kind of stability that turns survival into living. Daniel stood there, stunned, Lily peeking out from behind him, holding onto his leg. Tears welled in his eyes. Not because of the job, but because for the first time in years, the world had met his kindness with kindness of its own. The older man knelt to Lily's level, telling her how brave her father was, how rare it was to see someone choose compassion over convenience. Lily smiled, pride lighting up her face in a way Daniel would remember for the rest of his life. That night, after the door closed and the apartment returned to its quiet hum, Daniel sat on the edge of Lily's bed as she fell asleep. He realized something profound. He had spent years fearing that being kind would cost him everything. But kindness, he learned, does not disappear into nothing. It echoes. It returns in forms we never expect. Just before this story ends, I want to ask you something special. Please comment below and share what kindness means to you, or a moment when doing the right thing changed your life. Your words might inspire someone who needs it today. In the weeks that followed, Daniel's life slowly transformed. Not overnight miracles, but steady, honest change. A better paycheck. Evenings free to help with homework. Mornings without fear. And through it all, the lesson remained etched into his heart. The world may not always reward kindness immediately, but it never forgets it. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that even small acts can change lives in ways we can't see, please like this video, share it, and engage with the channel. Your support helps these stories reach people who need hope the most. Sometimes the dream job isn't the thing that changes your life. Sometimes it's the choice you make when no one is watching.